My friend, there comes a point in every man's life when he must stop asking what success looks like in the eyes of the world and begin asking, what does success look like to me? Too many spend their lives chasing the standards, expectations, and definitions handed to them by others. They measure their worth by the yardsticks of their neighbors, their colleagues, or their culture, and in the process they lose the most important truth of all success: that is not built on your own terms is not success. It is slavery. You were not born to live someone else's dream. You were not placed here to walk someone else's path. The power that created you gave you unique talents, unique desires, and a unique vision of life. And the tragedy of existence is not in failing to live up to the world's definition of success. It is in never daring to define success for yourself. Achieving success on your terms requires courage, for it means you must stand apart from the crowd. The world is filled with voices that will tell you what you should want: more money, a bigger house, a certain career, a certain lifestyle. And yet, if you chase these things without asking whether they are truly yours to pursue, you will find yourself exhausted, unfulfilled, and empty. True success is not the applause of the crowd. It is the quiet satisfaction of a soul that knows it is living in harmony with its own purpose. So let me ask you, what do you truly want? Not what will impress others, not what will make your parents proud, or your friends envious, or your community approving, but what sets your heart ablaze. What vision makes you wake up in the morning with energy, or keeps you awake at night with possibility? That, my friend, is the seed of your personalized success, and it is from that seed that all growth begins. The first step in achieving success on your terms is self-honesty. You must be willing to look within and admit the truth about what you desire. Many people never reach this stage because they are afraid of what they will find. They are afraid that their dreams are too small, or too grand, or too different. But let me remind you, no dream is too small if it fills your heart, and no dream is too large if you are willing to pay the price. The only false dream is the one that is not yours. Self-honesty requires stripping away the noise of comparison. In this modern age, men and women are constantly bombarded with images of what success should look like. They see the polished lives of others, the highlight reels, the symbols of wealth and power. And they begin to think, that must be what I should want too. But comparison is the thief of individuality, and without individuality there can be no true fulfillment. The second step is definiteness of purpose. Once you have identified what success means to you, you must make it definite, specific, and clear. A vague dream produces vague results. If your idea of success is freedom, define what freedom looks like. Does it mean financial independence, so you are not bound to an employer? Does it mean location independence, so you can live and travel where you choose? Does it mean time independence, so you can spend your days doing what you love? Define it. Write it. Speak it aloud until it is etched in your very soul. The third step is to design a plan that aligns with your individuality. Too often, people adopt strategies that work for others, forgetting that what works for one man may not work for another. Your path must fit your strengths, your temperament, your circumstances. If you are a man of ideas, do not force yourself into a life of endless manual labor. If you are a woman of action, do not chain yourself to a desk because society says you should. Align your plan with who you are. Success is not one size fits all. It is custom tailored. Do not mistake this for an excuse to avoid growth or discipline. You will always be required to stretch beyond your comfort zone. But stretching is different from twisting yourself into a shape that was never meant for you. Growth strengthens your true self, distortion breaks it. The fourth step is persistence. No matter how personalized your path is, you will meet obstacles. The world will test your commitment to your own terms. There will be times when you are tempted to abandon your path in favor of the easier road of conformity. There will be days when others mock you, misunderstand you, or try to sway you toward what they think you should do. But if your vision is truly yours, you must persist. You must walk on, step after step, with your eyes fixed on the prize you have chosen. Let me remind you, every man or woman who has ever achieved greatness has been misunderstood at first. The visionary always walks alone before he walks with others. The innovator always stands apart before the world catches up. Do not fear this loneliness. Embrace it as proof that you are walking your own path. The fifth step is to measure success by your own yardstick. Do not fall into the trap of judging your progress by the standards of others. If your definition of success is peace of mind, then a quiet evening with your family may be more valuable than $1 million deal. If your definition of success is freedom, then the ability to take a long walk at noon may mean more than a corner office. Align your measurements with your vision, not with the world's. There is a law that governs achievement, and it is this: whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. But there is an important addition. It must be conceived, believed, and achieved according to the individual's own design. You cannot believe wholeheartedly in a dream that does not belong to you. You cannot pour yourself into a vision that does not ignite your spirit. You cannot sacrifice willingly for a prize that holds no meaning to your heart. But when the dream is yours, truly yours, you will endure any hardship, pay any price, make any sacrifice, because the end is worth it. This brings us to another essential truth. Success is not only about what you gain, it is about what you give. The most fulfilling forms of success always include service to others, but service must flow naturally from who you are. If your success is built on your true talents and passions, you will naturally find ways to add value to others in a way only you can. That is the beauty of personalized success. It contributes to the world through authenticity. Do not think that choosing your own path means selfishness. Quite the opposite. The world does not need another imitation of someone else's success. The world needs you, your voice, your vision, your contribution. When you succeed on your terms, you give others permission to do the same. You become a beacon of authenticity in a world of conformity. Now let us speak of fear, for fear is the great enemy of personalized success. Fear of criticism, fear of failure, fear of standing alone. These fears are the invisible chains that keep men trapped in lives they do not want. But fear has power only when it is believed. The moment you decide that your vision matters more than their opinions, fear loses its hold. The moment you decide that failure is only feedback, fear becomes fuel. The moment you accept that walking alone is better than following the crowd into misery, fear turns into freedom. I tell you this with certainty. If you do not choose your own terms for success, others will choose them for you. And if others choose them, they will not choose them with your happiness in mind. They will choose them to serve their own ends. Society has a way of molding people into conformity, of telling them what is acceptable, what is desirable, what is normal. But greatness has never been normal. It has always been abnormal. It has always been exceptional. And so must you be, if you would claim success on your terms. Your journey will not be without sacrifice. Every man who succeeds must give up something to gain something greater. But when the prize is yours, when it is aligned with your heart, the sacrifice is no longer a burden. It becomes a willing exchange. The athlete gives up leisure to train, but the medal is his. The entrepreneur gives up security to build, but the dream is hers. The artist gives up conformity to create, but the masterpiece is theirs. When the success is yours, the sacrifice is worth it. Let us also consider time. Too many men waste the precious hours of their lives chasing what others have defined as valuable, only to find in the end that they never truly lived. Time is the one resource that cannot be replaced, and to spend it on someone else's definition of success is the greatest tragedy of all. Better to spend your days building a life that matters to you, even if the world does not applaud, than to waste them living in the shadow of someone else's applause. Now, there will be voices that tell you this is selfish, that you should bend your life to fit the molds others have made. But the truth is this: a man who betrays himself can never truly serve others. Only the man who is fulfilled, authentic, and aligned with his own purpose can give fully to the world. Only the woman who walks her own path with joy can inspire others to do the same. By choosing your own terms, you do not withdraw from service. You expand it. And so, my friend, achieving success on your terms is not a luxury. It is a duty. It is your duty to yourself, to your Creator, and to the world that needs what only you can give. It is the path of courage, the path of clarity, the path of persistence. It is the rejection of conformity and the embrace of authenticity. It is the decision to stop living by accident and start living by design. Begin today. Write down what success means to you, not to your family, not to your friends, not to society, but to you. Make it vivid. Make it definite. And then align your plans, your habits, your choices, and your actions with that vision. Guard it against fear. against criticism, against compromise. Pursue it with persistence, with faith, with enthusiasm. And as you walk this path, you will discover something extraordinary. Success on your terms is not only more fulfilling, it is inevitable. Because when a man is aligned with his own vision, when his purpose is definite and his actions are consistent, he becomes unstoppable. No obstacle can permanently block him because his desire is stronger. No failure can destroy him because his belief is deeper. No critic can sway him because his conviction is unshakable. He is a man on his own path, and such a man cannot be defeated. Let me begin with a simple truth: success has no universal blueprint. The world will try to tell you otherwise. It will hand you models, formulas, and systems that claim to guarantee your prosperity. It will point to the stories of the rich and powerful and whisper in your ear, if you do exactly what they did, you too will arrive at greatness. But let me warn you, no two lives are the same, no two journeys are identical, and no two visions of success can ever be pressed into the same mold. The pursuit of success is deeply personal. It is not mass-produced, it is handcrafted. It is not one size fits all. It is tailored to your own spirit, your own mind, and your own values. Those who fall into the trap of chasing a borrowed dream will often discover, too late, that they climbed the wrong mountain, that they reached the peak only to find emptiness waiting for them. So I ask you tonight, what is your blueprint? Not the one handed down to you by society, not the one your family insists upon, not the one your peers are following, but the one designed by the architect of your own soul. Because if you cannot answer that, then you are building a house with no foundation, a ship with no rudder, and a life with no compass. You see, the great tragedy of many lives is not failure. No, failure is not the enemy. The true tragedy is success without fulfillment, and fulfillment can only come when you succeed on your terms, not by copying the terms of someone else. Look closely at the men and women you admire, the builders of empires, the creators of art, the leaders of nations, the innovators who transformed industries. Their methods were as diverse as their personalities. Some moved slowly, others swiftly. Some built with quiet discipline, others with fiery ambition. Some followed education, others forged their way without it. But what they all shared was this: they did not ask permission to be themselves. They wrote their own script, they chose their own definition, and they walked their own path even when the world told them it could not be done. That is why success has no universal blueprint, because greatness requires authenticity, and authenticity cannot be copied. It can only be lived. Let us consider for a moment the danger of imitation. Too many people see a wealthy entrepreneur and believe, if I launch the same kind of business, I too will be wealthy. They see an athlete and believe, if I train the same hours, I too will be a champion. They see a speaker, an author, a leader, and they think, if I mimic their steps, I will inherit their rewards. But life is not a photocopy machine. You cannot duplicate another person's destiny, for their destiny was written with ink that belongs only to them. The moment you trade your individuality for imitation, you abandon the very power that could make you extraordinary. Understand this: your uniqueness is your greatest advantage. What you bring to the world that no one else can bring, that is the source of your wealth, your influence, your contribution. And if you deny that uniqueness by chasing a borrowed blueprint, you condemn yourself to mediocrity. Now, let me be clear. There are principles that apply to all success, principles like persistence, definiteness of purpose, self-discipline, and faith. These are the universal laws of achievement. But how you apply those principles, how you weave them into your own fabric, that is where individuality reigns supreme. You must take the laws and write your own constitution with them. You must take the tools and build your own house with them. For example, definiteness of purpose, the foundation stone of all achievement. Every successful person in history has possessed it. But the purpose itself, that is unique to each soul. One man's purpose may be to invent. Another's may be to teach. Another's may be to heal. Another's may be to inspire. The principle is universal, but the blueprint is personal. And so, if you wish to achieve success on your terms, you must first discard the notion that there is one map for all travelers. You must reject the idea that there is a single road to greatness. Instead, recognize that the map you seek lies within. You must draw it yourself. You must dare to say, my success will not look like anyone else's. My definition will not be borrowed. My path will not be a shadow. My life will not be a copy. Let me tell you a story. A young man once sought counsel from an older mentor. He asked, "How do I become successful? What steps must I follow?" The mentor replied, "What is it you desire?" The young man said, "I want wealth, I want respect, I want influence." The mentor asked, "Why?" The young man paused and said, "Because that is what I see others chasing. That is what seems valuable." The mentor smiled and said, "You are already lost because your compass is borrowed. Go back and ask yourself what you truly desire, what ignites your spirit, what brings you alive. Until you know that, no steps will lead you to success. The world is full of people who worked hard, who followed formulas, who rose to positions of power, and yet feel empty inside. They are celebrated on the outside, but hollow on the inside. Why? Because they succeeded according to someone else's blueprint. They gained what the world told them to want, not what their own heart whispered to them in quiet moments. Success without self-awareness is failure in disguise, and self-awareness begins with the courage to reject the universal blueprint myth. Understand this: there are billions of people on this planet, but not one shares your fingerprint. Not one shares the exact chemistry of your mind, the same combination of your experiences, talents, and vision. That is no accident. That is design. That is the universe saying to you, "You are one of a kind, therefore your path must be one of a kind." Do not waste that gift. Do not betray your uniqueness by squeezing yourself into the mold of another. Do not measure yourself by standards that were never meant for you. Your calling may not be loud. It may not be popular. It may not bring applause at first, but it is yours, and that makes it priceless. The danger of comparison cannot be overstated. Every time you compare your journey to another, you distort your own compass. You look at their highlight reel and forget your backstage reality. You measure your chapter 1 against their chapter 20, and in doing so, you lose sight of your own progress, your own calling, your own design. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy, it steals clarity, it steals momentum. It convinces you that you are behind, that you are inadequate, that your story is not enough. But remember this: the oak tree does not envy the rose. The eagle does not envy the lion. The sun does not envy the moon. Each shines in its own time, in its own way, and so must you. If success had a universal blueprint, every person who followed it would arrive at the same destination. But look around. Do you see sameness, or do you see diversity? Some succeed in wealth, others in love. Some succeed in creativity, others in leadership. Some succeed in serving millions, others in serving a single soul deeply. Success is as varied as humanity itself. Let us speak now of courage, for it takes courage to reject the universal blueprint. It takes courage to walk a path that others do not understand. The world loves conformity. It applauds the familiar. It feels safe when you fit its expectations. But the moment you step outside the lines, you will face resistance. People will question you, doubt you, criticize you. They will say, "That is not how it is done." And if you are weak, you will retreat. But if you are strong, you will smile and say, "Of course it is not how it is done, for I am not here to repeat history. I am here to create it." Every breakthrough in human history has come from someone who refused to follow the blueprint. The Wright brothers refused to accept that man was not meant to fly. Thomas Edison refused to accept that darkness would always dominate the night. Henry Ford refused to accept that the automobile must remain a toy for the wealthy. These men faced ridicule, opposition, and doubt, but they pressed on because they trusted their own blueprint, and so must you. Do not fear the unknown. Do not fear the untested. Do not fear walking where no one has walked, for that is where greatness is born. The safe path leads to mediocrity. The bold path leads to discovery, and discovery is the seed of all success. I say to you now, tear up the script that was handed to you. Question the rules you were told to follow. Challenge the definitions of success that society imposed upon you. Ask yourself, what do I truly want? What makes me come alive? What am I willing to dedicate my life to? And when you answer those questions with honesty, you will begin to design your own blueprint. Do not be concerned if others do not understand it. Do not be discouraged if others cannot see your vision. Your blueprint was not given to them. It was entrusted to you, and only you must build it. Some will say, "But what if I fail?" To that I say, better to fail building your own blueprint than to succeed building another's. Failure in authenticity is nobler than success in imitation. For even in failure, you are true to yourself. And in that truth lies the seed of future triumph. So take courage, take ownership, take the pen of your life and write boldly. Do not copy, do not imitate, do not conform. Success has no universal blueprint, but it has a universal requirement that you live in alignment with your deepest truth, that you honor your uniqueness, that you dare to walk your own path, even when it is lonely, uncertain, and untested. And when you do, you will discover that the greatest reward of all is not the applause of others, not the trophies of society, not the riches of the world, but the quiet, unshakable joy of knowing that you succeeded not by imitation, not by accident, not by chance, but by design, your design. I stand before you with a truth that has the power to transform not only the course of your days, but the very destiny of your life. This truth is not hidden in complicated theories, nor buried in the wisdom of only the learned. It is simple, it is clear, it is universal, and it begins with one piercing question: what does success mean to you? Most men and women live their entire lives without ever asking that question. They chase shadows, they pursue dreams borrowed from the ambitions of others, they run tirelessly in races they never chose to run, and at the end of their lives, they collapse at the finish line only to discover they were running in the wrong direction. You see, it is not enough to pursue success. You must first define it. Success, in its truest form, is personal. It cannot be borrowed, it cannot be copied, it cannot be handed to you by society, your family, or the voices of the crowd. For what is success to the artist who longs to paint, but instead spends his life counting numbers in ledgers? What is success to the man who amasses great wealth, but loses his family in the process? What is success to the woman who climbs the corporate ladder, only to find at the top that her heart is empty and her soul restless? You must decide. You must take ownership. You must declare what success means to you, because if you don't, the world will decide for you. And I can assure you the world will not decide wisely. Let me ask you this: how many of the goals you are chasing today are truly yours? How many of the ambitions you claim as your own are actually whispers planted in your mind by the expectations of others? The school that told you what you should become, the family that pressed upon you their vision of honor, the society that glorifies possessions and applause, are these truly yours? Or have you, like so many, inherited a definition of success that does not belong to you? The first step to greatness, the first step to happiness, the first step to achievement that brings peace instead of emptiness is this: define what success means to you. Not to me, not to your neighbor, not to the world, to you. When I speak of success, I am not speaking only of riches, though riches may be a part of it. I am not speaking only of power, though power may be a result of it. I am speaking of something deeper. Success is harmony between your desires and your actions. It is alignment between your inner vision and your outward reality. Success is peace of mind born from knowing that you are becoming the person you were meant to be, not the imitation of another. Think of the countless men who have filled their pockets with gold, but emptied their hearts of joy. Think of the leaders who conquered nations yet were defeated by their own lack of inner peace. These men had what the world calls success, yet in truth they failed. Why? Because they never asked the question, what does success mean to me? When you define success on your terms, you gain clarity, and clarity is power. Without clarity, you wander. With clarity, you walk with direction. Without clarity, you follow the noise of the crowd. With clarity, you march to the rhythm of your own drum. Without clarity, you chase illusions. With clarity, you create realities. Now, how does one define success? How do you strip away the voices of the world and hear the quiet whisper of your own soul? The answer is reflection. The answer is honesty. The answer is courage. Sit with yourself in silence. Ask yourself, if there were no opinions to please, no comparisons to fear, no expectations to fulfill, what would I truly desire? What life would I choose if I were the only judge of it? The answer that rises in those quiet moments is your truth. That is where you will find the definition of your success. Perhaps for you, success is the freedom to rise each morning and devote your day to work that excites you. Perhaps it is the joy of nurturing a family and leaving them a legacy of love. Perhaps it is wealth, not for the sake of hoarding, but for the power it gives you to build, to create, to uplift. Perhaps it is mastery of a craft, the pursuit of excellence for its own sake. Perhaps it is service, the joy of giving without expectation of return. Whatever it is, it must be yours. Let me warn you of a great danger. If you fail to define success for yourself, you will become a slave to the definition of others. You will measure your worth by their yardstick. You will chase their applause. You will sacrifice your peace for their approval. And in the end, you will discover you have lived their life, not yours. The tragedy of life is not in failing to reach a goal. The tragedy of life is in reaching the wrong goal. Imagine climbing a ladder all your life, working with persistence, with sweat, with sacrifice, only to find when you reached the top that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. That is the fate of every man and woman who fails to define success for themselves. Do not let that be your fate. Build your ladder carefully. Lean it against the wall of your own choosing. Define your success, then climb with all your might. For now let us speak of courage. For once you define success on your terms, the battle begins. You will find resistance, not only from the world, but from within yourself. The world will tell you that your definition is not valid, that you must conform, that you must follow the path trodden by the masses. And within yourself, you will hear the whispers of doubt, the fear of judgment, the weight of uncertainty. That is the invisible war, the battle between your authentic self and the pressures of conformity. But hear me well, no man or woman has ever tasted true greatness without defying the expectations of others. The world honors originality but pressures conformity. It applauds the bold but tries to tame the daring. If you wish to achieve success on your terms, you must be willing to endure criticism, to face misunderstanding, to walk alone at times. For the path of authenticity is narrow, and few have the courage to walk it. You must remind yourself daily, this is my life, this is my journey, this is my definition of success. Repeat it until it becomes the armor that protects you from the arrows of doubt and the opinions of others. Once you have defined success, you must then build it. A definition without action is a dream without life. Action breathes reality into vision. Discipline carves desire into destiny. Persistency shapes intention into achievement. Define what success means to you, then give your days, your energy, your thoughts, and your sweat to making it real. You will stumble. You will fall. You will be tempted to abandon your definition for an easier path. But remember this, when the path is yours, even the pain has meaning. Even the struggle has purpose. Even the failure has value. Because you are not chasing an illusion, you are building a life that belongs to you. There is a story of a man who spent his life chasing wealth, only to realize in his final years that what he truly longed for was time. Time with his children, time with his wife, time to live. But time is the one thing he could never buy back. He had succeeded in the eyes of the world, but failed in the eyes of his own heart. Do not wait until the end of your life to realize that success defined by others is failure disguised. Instead, begin today. Write your own definition. Live by it. Guard it as you would guard your greatest treasure. And when doubts arise, return to it. Ask yourself, am I living according to my truth, or am I living according to the expectations of others? That question will keep you on your path. My friends, the greatest victory you will ever win is not the conquest of lands or the accumulation of riches. It is the conquest of yourself, the courage to define success on your terms, and the discipline to live by that definition. That is freedom. That is power. That is greatness. Think about this truth for a moment. In a world of billions of people, only one carries your unique fingerprint. Only one carries your exact combination of experiences, thoughts, perspectives, talents, and dreams. And yet, how many people spend their lives running away from their true selves? How many spend their days trying to copy others, trying to live by a borrowed script, trying to impress people they do not even like, while ignoring the voice within them that cries out for expression? The tragedy of life is not in failing to become someone else. The tragedy is in never daring to become yourself. Authenticity is not just honesty. It is not simply telling the truth with words. Authenticity is alignment. It is when your values, your words, your actions, and your deepest desires move in harmony. When what you say reflects what you believe. When what you do matches what you claim. When who you present to the world is no longer a mask, but a mirror of the reality within. And the man or woman who reaches that state of alignment possesses a power that others cannot comprehend, because authenticity cannot be faked, and people can sense it the moment it walks into the room. Ask yourself, what is it that separates a leader who inspires from one who manipulates? What is it that separates an artist who touches hearts from one who fades into noise? What is it that separates the builder of empires from the imitator who never leaves a mark? It is authenticity. A leader who speaks from a place of truth resonates with the masses because people are drawn to sincerity in a world drowning in deception. An artist who paints, sings, or writes from the depths of their soul pierces through cultural and generational barriers because they are not trying to be trendy. They are trying to be real. And the builder who rises from nothing and builds a vision aligned with their purpose creates not just wealth, but legacy, because they are fueled not by vanity, but by destiny. Now consider this imitation as limitation. Every time you try to be what you are not, you shrink your power. Every time you chase another person's path instead of forging your own, you rob yourself of the advantage that was given to you at birth. Your uniqueness was not a mistake. Your uniqueness was designed to be your advantage. But uniqueness unused is like a locked treasure chest. It holds wealth, but no one benefits from it, not even you. Let us take an honest look at why so many people abandon their authenticity. The answer is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of standing out in a world where conformity is praised. From childhood, most are trained to fit in, to play safe, to color within the lines. They are told, do not dream too big, do not speak too loud, do not be too different. And so they shrink. They adopt masks. They become actors in a play they never auditioned for. And they live decades of their lives playing a character, while the real self suffocates inside. But here is the secret: the world is starving for the real. It is flooded with copies, with counterfeits, with people who all look, sound, and act the same. But the rare man or woman who dares to live authentically, who dares to speak truth even when unpopular, who dares to pursue their purpose even when misunderstood, that individual becomes magnetic. Opportunities chase them. People trust them. Influence grows around them. Because authenticity creates resonance, and resonance is the highest form of power. Think about the figures in history who shaped the world. They were never the ones who tried to blend in. They were the ones who dared to stand apart. Socrates drank the poison rather than betray his truth. Lincoln endured ridicule for standing firm on values that divided a nation. Edison was mocked for his endless failures before giving the world the light bulb. These men were not concerned with fitting into the mold society offered them. They were concerned with living in alignment with their vision, their beliefs, and their identity. Their authenticity was their ultimate advantage. Now, how do you unlock authenticity in your own life? It begins with self-awareness. You cannot live authentically until you know who you are. Too many wander aimlessly because they never take time to study themselves. They can tell you what their neighbor wants, what celebrities are doing, what society demands, but they cannot tell you their own deepest desires, their own values, their own mission. To be authentic, you must ask yourself, what do I value above all? What principles am I unwilling to compromise? What excites me? What drains me? What impact do I want to leave on this world? If you cannot answer these questions, you are living by accident, not on purpose. The second step is courage. It takes courage to live authentically because the world does not always reward it immediately. At first, authenticity may cost you approval. It may cost you friendships. It may cost you the comfort of fitting in. But what you lose in comfort, you gain in power. And what you lose in shallow approval, you gain in deep respect. People may resist authenticity at first, but ultimately they cannot ignore it because it speaks to a longing inside every human heart, the longing to be real, the longing to be free. The third step is consistency. Authenticity is not a costume you wear when convenient. It is a lifestyle. It means making decisions daily that reflect who you truly are, not just who others want you to be. It means rejecting shortcuts that compromise your values, refusing opportunities that contradict your purpose, and saying yes only to the things that align with the life you are building. And let us be clear. Authenticity is not an excuse for laziness or stagnation. Some people use the phrase, "This is just who I am," to justify bad habits, poor effort, or lack of growth. That is not authenticity, that is complacency. Authenticity is about growth that stays true to your core. It is about becoming the highest version of yourself, not abandoning self-mastery under the excuse of being real. So now consider this: when you live authentically, you eliminate competition. Think carefully. Competition exists when people fight for the same role, the same recognition, the same resources by playing the same game. But when you play the game only you can play, There is no competition. No one else can beat you at being you. You become the category. You create the lane. You lead the way. This is why authenticity is the ultimate advantage in business, in leadership, in art, and in life. In business, it creates brands people trust because customers sense the sincerity. In leadership, it inspires loyalty because followers know the leader is not hiding behind false motives. In art, it creates masterpieces that echo for generations because they are born of truth. And in life, it creates fulfillment because you are no longer living borrowed dreams, but your own. Authenticity also liberates energy. Think about how exhausting it is to wear masks, to pretend, to play roles, to constantly calculate what others expect of you and try to perform accordingly. It drains the spirit. But authenticity frees you from the prison of pretending. When you live in alignment with yourself, energy flows, creativity multiplies, clarity sharpens, and life becomes lighter. You no longer carry the burden of being someone you are not. Ask yourself, are you living a life designed by your own hand, or one handed to you by others? Are your choices rooted in your values or in fear of judgment? Are you walking your path or sleepwalking down someone else's? If you are not authentic, you are not truly living, you are only existing. Authenticity will demand that you silence the noise of the crowd. The crowd says, fit in. The crowd says, follow the trend. The crowd says, be like us. But the call of authenticity whispers, be yourself. And though the whisper may be faint, it is the voice that will guide you to destiny. Consider this, you were born to be an original, not a copy. The universe never repeats itself, yet humanity spends its time copying one another. The rare individual who decides to live as an original automatically rises above the masses. They stand out not because they try to stand out, but because they refuse to blend in. And perhaps the greatest truth of all is this: authenticity attracts abundance. It attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right resources, because it vibrates at the frequency of truth. You do not have to chase endlessly. When you are authentic, what belongs to you will find its way to you because you are aligned with it. Authenticity is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without it, success becomes empty. Without it, wealth becomes meaningless. Without it, achievements become hollow. But with it, every victory carries weight, every connection carries depth, and every step forward carries fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to pause for just a moment and reflect on a truth that has quietly governed your life in ways you may not have fully recognized. The truth is this: comparison is the thief of fulfillment. It is the silent enemy that robs you of joy, confidence, and progress. It does not announce itself with boldness or power. It sneaks in quietly, wearing the disguise of ambition, competition, or self-evaluation. But in its essence, comparison is a poison that eats away at the soul, stripping away your satisfaction in who you are and what you are capable of becoming. From the moment you were born, you were given something extraordinary: your individuality. No two people are alike, no two journeys identical, no two destinies carved from the same mold. And yet, most people spend their lives measuring their worth by looking sideways instead of looking forward. They ask, am I ahead or behind? Am I better or worse? Am I more successful? Or am I failing compared to them? These questions are the seeds of misery. Because the moment you build your identity on comparison, you surrender the keys of your happiness to someone else's life. Fulfillment is not found in being better than another man or woman. Fulfillment is found in being better than who you were yesterday. Fulfillment grows when you align your life with your purpose, when you live according to your own standards, and when you recognize that the race you are running has no other participants. It is yours alone. But comparison blinds you to this truth. It whispers lies into your ear. It tells you, you are not enough because he is stronger, she is wealthier, they are happier, and they have more. It tricks you into ignoring the blessings that already fill your life. It clouds your vision, so you no longer see your own progress, only the illusion of someone else's perfection. The most dangerous part of comparison is that it always paints an incomplete picture. You see someone's success, but you do not see their sacrifice. You see their wealth, but not their sleepless nights of labor. You see their smile, but not the hidden pain behind it. And yet, you measure your entire worth against this incomplete picture, as if the surface tells the whole story. It is like judging a book by its cover and then condemning yourself because your book looks different. Let us strip this illusion bare. No two people have the same starting point. No two people face the same trials. No two people walk the same path. To compare yourself to another is to compare apples to stars. It makes no sense. Each of us was designed for a unique contribution, a unique impact, and a unique destiny. When you live in comparison, you weaken your faith in yourself. You stop listening to your inner voice and begin chasing the echo of someone else's life. And when you do this, you abandon the very thing that makes success possible, definiteness of purpose. How can you live with purpose if your eyes are fixed on another's path? How can you rise in power if you spend your energy resenting the power of another? Greatness is not measured by how far ahead you stand of others. Greatness is measured by how far you have come compared to where you once stood. True fulfillment is not about being applauded by the world. It is about being at peace with yourself. Consider this: the oak tree does not look at the pine and say, "I am not tall enough." The pine does not look at the rose and say, "I am not beautiful enough." Each grows according to its design, fulfilling its purpose in the ecosystem of life. And yet man, the most intelligent of all creatures, forgets this truth and spends his life in torment, wishing to be something or someone he is not. The cure to comparison is found in recognition. Recognition that your value does not diminish because someone else shines. Recognition that your path is not invalid because theirs is different. Recognition that you are equipped with everything you need to live a life of meaning. If only you will stop measuring your worth against another. Understand this: success built on comparison is fragile. If your happiness depends on being richer than your neighbor, what happens when your neighbor becomes richer still? If your confidence depends on being more accomplished than your peer, what happens when your peer achieves something greater? Your life becomes a constant chase, a race with no finish line where peace is always out of reach. But success built on self-mastery is unshakable. If your standard is to outgrow your former self, no one can take that victory from you. If your aim is to walk in alignment with your purpose, no other person's life can derail yours. If your focus is to become the fullest version of yourself, then comparison loses all its power. When you stop comparing, you reclaim your freedom. You no longer live as a prisoner of opinion. You no longer shrink in shame because another seems to have more. You begin to see yourself with clarity. You begin to celebrate the journey you are on. You begin to taste fulfillment, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you are finally playing your own game, by your own rules in your own lane. Let us look closer at the mechanics of comparison. Why does it rob fulfillment so effectively? Because it shifts your focus from gratitude to deficiency. Instead of seeing what you have, you only see what you lack. Instead of acknowledging your progress, you obsess over how far you still are from another's position. Gratitude fuels joy, but comparison fuels resentment. And where resentment grows, joy withers. When your heart is filled with gratitude, you see your life as abundant, even if you do not yet have all you desire. You see your growth, your opportunities, and your blessings. This creates energy, motivation, and momentum. But when your heart is consumed by comparison, you see your life as lacking no matter how much you achieve. You could have the world at your feet and still feel poor, simply because someone else appears to have more. History is filled with men and women who fell into the trap of comparison. Kings with entire kingdoms envied other kings. Leaders with immense power envied the influence of others. Wealthy men envied greater wealth, and many destroyed themselves not because they lacked, but because they could not be content with their portion. Fulfillment requires you to plant your feet firmly on your own ground, to say, "This is my path, this is my race, this is my purpose." From this place, you can admire others without envying them. You can be inspired by their greatness without feeling diminished by it. You can celebrate their success while still honoring your own. Do not confuse inspiration with comparison. Inspiration empowers you, comparison weakens you. Inspiration says, "If they can, I can too." Comparison says, "Because they can, I am less." Inspiration ignites possibility. Comparison extinguishes hope. If you wish to rise into greatness, train your mind to turn comparison into inspiration. Instead of asking, "Why do they have what I don't?" ask, "What can I learn from their journey?" Instead of envying their results, study their habits. Instead of resenting their achievements, let them awaken your belief in what is possible for you. This is the discipline of a great mind, the ability to transform comparison into fuel, instead of poison. But let us be honest, this is not easy. The world we live in magnifies comparison at every turn. Through books, through stories, and in our modern era, through the endless showcase of social media, you are bombarded with carefully curated glimpses of other people's lives. You are fed an illusion that their world is perfect, that their happiness is complete, and that their success is absolute. And if you are not careful, you will believe this illusion and weigh your worth against it. But remember, what you see is never the whole picture. Behind every smiling photograph is a human being with fears, struggles, and flaws. Behind every victory is a cost that was paid. Behind every success is a process of failure, persistence, and sacrifice. If you could see the whole picture, you would stop comparing and start understanding. So I say to you, guard your mind. Be vigilant about where your focus goes. Do not let comparison steal your joy, your confidence, your energy. When you feel the pull of comparison, return to gratitude. List the blessings you already hold. Count the victories you have already achieved. Remind yourself of the unique purpose you are here to fulfill. Fulfillment is not a destination, but a daily decision. It is the decision to focus on what you have, not what you lack. It is the decision to measure yourself against your past, not against another's present. It is the decision to honor your journey, even if it looks different from the one beside you. And when you make this decision day after day, comparison loses its power. It no longer dictates your emotions. It no longer chains your spirit. You begin to rise, not in rivalry with others, but in mastery of yourself. The truth is, life was never meant to be a contest of who has more, who is better, who is ahead. Life was meant to be a canvas where each person paints their unique masterpiece. And no masterpiece is diminished because another hangs beside it. Each stands on its own, beautiful, powerful, complete in its expression. So why rob yourself of joy by comparing your canvas to another's? Why belittle your journey by wishing it were someone else's? Why spend your days chasing shadows when the light of your purpose is already within you? I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself a question that very few people ever dare to confront. What is steering the direction of your life? You may think it is ambition, or perhaps opportunity, or even circumstance. But beneath all of that, whether you recognize it or not, there is a force more powerful than any external condition, a force more decisive than any temporary influence. That force is your values. Your values are the compass that determines the course you take in life. Imagine for a moment being lost in a vast wilderness. No signs, no maps, no familiar paths. The sun sets and darkness begins to consume the landscape. In that moment of uncertainty, what tool would you give anything to have? Not a car, not a house, not money in the bank. You would give anything for a compass, because with a compass, no matter how lost you feel, you have direction. You may still face obstacles, you may still need to climb mountains and cross rivers, but you know which way to walk. Without that compass, you can wander endlessly, expend energy without progress, and perish without purpose. And such is the fate of the man or woman who lives without clearly defined values. For values are not just noble, sounding words. They are the fixed stars by which you navigate the storms of life. They decide the direction of your decisions. They govern the company you keep, the sacrifices you make, the dreams you pursue, and the destiny you eventually create. Every triumph and every tragedy of mankind can be traced back to values, or the lack of them. Let us examine this more closely. A person who values integrity will never compromise the truth, no matter how tempting the shortcut, no matter how alluring the lie. Integrity becomes their compass point, and it steers them toward trust, respect, and enduring influence. Another person, however, may value wealth above all else, so much so that honesty, kindness, or loyalty are discarded in pursuit of gain. That compass directs them too, but often toward ruin, for what is gained at the cost of one's soul is never a gain, but a debt that life will one day demand repayment for. Values shape your destiny more than talent, more than opportunity, more than luck. For how many men have been born with talent, yet squandered it because their values were corrupted? How many have been presented with opportunities, but destroyed them because their compass pointed toward greed instead of contribution? How many have received fortune and fame, but collapsed under the weight of emptiness because their values were built on sand instead of stone? It is not enough to live. One must live rightly. It is not enough to succeed. One must succeed honorably. And it is not enough to chase dreams. One must chase the right dreams. That difference is found only when your compass is calibrated by values that endure. Now, you must ask yourself, what are my values? Have I chosen them consciously, or have I borrowed them from the world around me? For too many live not by their own compass, but by the compass handed to them by society, culture, peers, or the endless stream of voices demanding conformity. They chase money because others say money is success. They chase status because others say status is respect. They chase approval because others say approval is love. And then one day they wake up, having walked 1,000 miles, only to discover they were walking in the wrong direction. They realized they climbed a ladder, but the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. True success begins when you seize the courage to define your own values. When you declare to the world, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and this is what I will not compromise. Only then does life begin to move with clarity. Only then does your journey take on meaning. Consider the lives of great men and women throughout history. What made them extraordinary was not merely their brilliance or their opportunities, but the values that guided them. Mahatma Gandhi valued truth and nonviolence, and though he possessed no army, no throne, no weapons, his compass of values led to the liberation of a nation. Abraham Lincoln valued unity and justice, and though the nation was torn by civil war, his compass steered America toward freedom. Thomas Edison valued persistence and contribution, and though he failed thousands of times, his compass pointed him toward inventions that lit the world. Contrast them with men whose compasses were misaligned, men of extraordinary talent who used their gifts for destruction, leaders who valued power above principle, and so dragged millions into suffering. The tragedy of their lives was not a lack of strength, but a lack of values. Their compass led them into darkness, and they brought the world with them. Do not underestimate this truth. You are not only responsible for your values, but for the impact they will have on others. For every decision you make radiates outward, touching lives you may never even meet. A parent's values shape the destiny of a child. A leader's values shape the destiny of an organization. A nation's values shape the destiny of civilization. This is why values must never be left to accident. They must be chosen deliberately, examined carefully, and lived with unshakable consistency. Now let us go deeper. Your values will not only guide your decisions, they will determine your resilience. Life, make no mistake, it will test you. It will throw storms, setbacks, betrayals, and failures upon your path. Without values, you will drift. You will be blown off course by every shifting wind. But when your compass is fixed, no storm can break you. You may bend, but you will not break. You may fall, but you will rise again, because values give you something stronger than circumstance. They give you conviction. Think of the sailor at sea. The waves may roar, the winds may howl, but with a compass in hand, he knows where to steer. He is not at the mercy of the storm, and so it is with you. You may face days when life seems unfair, when progress is slow, when obstacles seem insurmountable. But if you value perseverance, if you value faith, if you value growth, then those values will whisper to you in the darkness, press on, this storm shall pass. Your values also shape your relationships, for who you walk with in life will be determined by what you stand for. When you value honesty, you attract honest companions. When you value growth, you surround yourself with those who challenge you to rise higher. When you value contribution, you join forces with those who also seek to serve. But when your values are undefined, you drift into the company of those who may drag you down. Show me your values, and I will show you your friends. Show me your values, and I will show you your future. The most dangerous life is not the life without wealth, but the life without values. For wealth without values corrupts. Power without values destroys. Freedom without values collapses into chaos. But values, when firmly held, elevate wealth into blessing, transform power into service, and turn freedom into flourishing. Do not think of values as abstract ideals. They are practical, they are tangible. They are the invisible hands shaping your future. Let me illustrate. Imagine two men facing the same choice. A bribe is offered. One values honesty, the other values gain. The first refuses and gains peace of mind, trust, and long-term respect. The second accepts and gains immediate profit, but also guilt, suspicion, and eventual downfall. Same opportunity, different values, entirely different destinies. Now, I challenge you to write your values. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Write them not as wishes, but as declarations. Say to yourself, I value truth above convenience. I value growth above comfort. I value contribution above selfishness. I value love above fear. And once written, live them. Do not betray them. For every time you betray your values, you weaken your compass. And a weakened compass leads to a wasted life. But beware, values will be tested not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. It is easy to value patience when life is smooth. It is easy to value kindness when others are kind. It is easy to value faith when everything is going your way. But true values reveal themselves when the fire burns hottest, patience when provoked, kindness when mistreated, faith when the night is darkest. That is when your compass proves its worth. And understand this, your values are not for sale, not for money, not for approval, not for comfort. If your values can be purchased, they are not values at all, but preferences. A value is something you will not betray, no matter the cost. It is a line you will not cross, no matter the temptation. It is the hill upon which you will stand, even if you must stand alone. Look back upon your life. Every regret you carry is the result of a moment when you acted against your values. Every triumph you cherish is the result of a moment when you stood by them. The pattern is clear. Betray your compass, and you drift. Honor your compass, and you advance. Your values are not merely about what you do, but about who you become. For at the end of life, the question will not be, how much did you earn? How high did you climb? How widely were you known? The question will be, who did you become? Did you live true to what you believed? Did you honor the compass within you? That is the only success that endures. And so I say to you again, your values are your compass. They will guide you when the path is unclear, when the world is confusing, when the noise is deafening. They will point you toward greatness, not the greatness the world defines, but the greatness that resonates with your soul. For in the end, success is not found in the applause of others, but in the alignment of your life with your values. It is one of the greatest tragedies of human ambition that so many people spend their lives chasing after goals, yet so few ever stop to ask the deeper question, what kind of life do I want to live? A goal is a milestone, yes, but a lifestyle is the road you walk every day. A goal might give you a short burst of achievement, but a lifestyle defines the quality of your existence, the rhythm of your days, the meaning of your nights, and the legacy of your years. Too many people climb the mountain of success only to discover they were scaling the wrong peak. They sacrifice health for wealth, only to spend their wealth later trying to regain their health. They chase recognition, yet neglect the peace of their own hearts. They accumulate possessions, yet lose the treasures of joy, love, and purpose. Why does this happen? Because they set goals without designing the lifestyle those goals were meant to serve. You see, a goal can be a trap if it is not guided by vision. A man may set a goal to earn $1 million, but if his lifestyle requires 20 hours of work each day, leaving him with no time for family, no peace for his mind, and no health for his body, then that $1 million is nothing more than a gilded cage. The world applauds his bank account, but inside he lives as a prisoner. That is not success. That is bondage in disguise. Real success demands alignment. It demands that your goals serve your life rather than enslave it. It demands that you see beyond numbers and titles and accolades into the essence of what makes life worth living. Success is not only about what you achieve, but about how you feel on the journey and what remains when the applause fades. Ask yourself this simple question. If I achieved every goal I have written down, would I love the life it created for me? That question is a compass. That question will save you from pursuing empty victories. Because every achievement must be measured not only by the prize it brings, but by the price it demands. A lifestyle, my friends, is intentional. It is designed with thought, crafted with care, and lived with discipline. It does not emerge by accident. It is the product of vision married to action. It requires you to decide, in vivid detail, what kind of mornings you want to wake up to, what kind of people you want to surround yourself with, what kind of energy you want to carry into your days, what kind of contribution you want to leave behind. When you know these things, then, and only then, can you set goals that support that lifestyle rather than sabotage it. Think for a moment of the many who set the goal of riches. They toil, they labor, they build fortunes. Yet ask them in private if they feel rich in spirit, and many confess an emptiness they cannot fill. Why? Because they confuse the acquisition of wealth with the design of life. They thought money was the foundation, when in truth it is only a tool. Money is a servant, not a master. It is an instrument to support the lifestyle you envision, not the definition of success itself. If you would live wisely, begin with the vision of your lifestyle. Then let your goals flow from that vision. For example, if your vision is to live in vibrant health, with energy to play with your children, clarity to think with sharpness, and strength to pursue your passions, then every goal you set for health, fitness, and diet is aligned with that vision. If your vision is to live in harmony with your loved ones, building relationships that endure, then your financial or career goals must allow you the time and presence to honor that priority. Without alignment, your goals will betray you. With alignment, your goals will empower you. Let me take you deeper into this principle. When you design a lifestyle, you must design it across all dimensions of life: health, wealth, relationships, purpose, and spirit. Neglect any one of these, and the others will eventually suffer. A man who pursues wealth at the expense of health will find himself wealthy in a hospital bed. A woman who builds a career while neglecting her relationships will one day look at her achievements with no one to share them. A person who ignores purpose may gather all the trinkets of success, yet feel the gnawing emptiness of a life without meaning. Balance is not a luxury. It is a necessity for true fulfillment. This is where discipline comes in. A lifestyle is not built in a day. It is not the result of a single decision. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, habit by habit. You must have the discipline to align your daily actions with the vision of the life you want to live. Every morning you are faced with the question, will I act in harmony with the lifestyle I am designing, or will I betray it for temporary comfort, fleeting pleasure, or the illusion of progress? Examine your days, for it is not in grand gestures that life is built, but in the small choices repeated consistently. How you spend your mornings, how you treat your body, how you speak to others, how you invest your time. These are the architects of your destiny. You cannot design a life of peace while feeding your mind constant turmoil. You cannot design a life of health while feeding your body constant poison. You cannot design a life of love while filling your heart with resentment. Lifestyle is the sum of your habits, and habits are the bricks from which your destiny is constructed. Now let us speak of vision again, for vision is the blueprint, the master plan of lifestyle. If you cannot imagine the life you desire, you cannot build it. So I urge you, dare to dream in detail. See the mornings you want to live. See the environment in which you want to wake. See the type of work that energizes you. See the relationships that enrich you. See the contribution you want to make. Create in your mind's eye the movie of your ideal life. For the mind is the workshop of reality, and no lifestyle can be lived until it is first imagined. But vision without action is daydreaming. You must translate that vision into practical steps. What does that lifestyle require financially? What does it require in terms of health and energy? What does it require in terms of time allocation? Then ask yourself, what goals must I set today that will lead me closer to this design? Suddenly, your goals are no longer arbitrary targets. They are essential steps in the creation of your chosen life. Here is where personalization matters. Your lifestyle must be your own. Do not borrow the blueprint of another. Do not let society or family or peers dictate the life you must design. Their definition of success may not fit your soul. The applause of the crowd cannot fill the silence of your discontent. You must decide boldly and without apology what success means for you. For the greatest failure in life is not falling short of someone else's expectations, but betraying your own vision of what your life was meant to be. And so I say to you, dare to live deliberately. Do not chase goals blindly. Do not run after numbers without asking if they buy you freedom or chains. Do not surrender your peace in pursuit of trophies that will tarnish. Decide what kind of mornings you want to wake to, what kind of evenings you want to rest in, what kind of legacy you want to leave. Let those decisions guide every step, every plan, every goal. For in the end, life is not measured by the goals you check off, but by the life you live between them. A man may achieve great goals and yet live a poor life. Another may achieve modest goals and yet live richly, because his life was aligned with his true desires, his values, his vision. Success, my friends, is not about the magnitude of your goals, but the harmony of your lifestyle. Design carefully. Choose wisely. Live intentionally. And never forget that your lifestyle is the canvas and your goals are merely the brushstrokes with which you paint it.